BookTube. So I thought it would be fun to, instead of sitting down on Sunday and talking about all the books I read throughout the week, that instead, because I'm doing the deck of TBR-thon where I'm drawing a card and that's giving me a prompt to pick my next book and read that, I decided I am going to do it live and just take you along throughout my weekend to see what cards I get and what books I'm going to be picking. And I've already picked, it's Sunday right now, and I already picked the book I'm going to be reading today into Monday. But so I thought about this after the fact. So I did draw a 4, and in case you missed my Friday Reads video, these cards are Doom Slugs from Brandon Sanderson's card deck. My boyfriend really likes fantasy books, and so he subscribed to like the Brandon Sanderson mystery boxes, and so I got these cards, and they make me laugh. So this is an orange, an orange Doom Slug, and so it doesn't matter about the suit or the color red or black, it's just the number. So for 4, I got a long book, over 400, 500, or 600 pages. And like the harder the levels of like 400, I get 1 point, 500, 3, and then 600, 5 points for my team. And I am Team TBR. There's 2 teams, red and black. Team TBR and Team, I'm like on this like the mood reader. There you go, mood reader. So I picked a book over 400 pages, and so I picked this book I've had on my shelf. I had the receipt still in this. I got it on December 31st, 2022 at Barnes & Noble, because I think at the time they were doing like a half off sale, because looking at my receipt, this is $20 instead of $40. And I have read all of the other photo arc books published by National Geographic, and then the photographer is Joel Sartor. All of his ones previously, and this is the celebrating diversity in the animal kingdom, and this is like all over the world. So the previous books were there's one on endangered species. There was like the original photo walkers. Other ones are like more of a specific category, whereas this one is like a whole variety of things. So you're getting insects and mammals, fish, all sorts of things. And if you haven't heard of these books before, they are just the best photography for animals. And so what's unique about this is he takes an animal into like a black room or like a green screen, even when they're outside, and so you're just looking at the animal. So this one is a green keel bellied lizard, and so you get like full photography. It's just like it's so fun to flip through. And so it talks about like the endangered like listing, like if it's extremely endangered or very common, and then it just gives you a little itty bitty paragraph here giving you the Latin name and the name of it, and then also it gives you like the region. So this is a vivid green lizard that lives in the forest, woodlands, and coastal thickets of Kenya and Tanzania. And then it gives a little bit, often I'll give you a little description of its characteristics. So it's saying it's secretive and active only during the day. It spends much of its time in trees, perching on small branches. So that's a little idea of it. And so this is a frog. I mean, some of them are, you get the full picture, and then others you get like one on each page. And so I'm having so much fun. Okay, this one reminds me of Fable. This is a maned wolf in Central South America. And the reason I'm sitting like over here is because she's right beside me, taking up all the floor space here. I'll have to try and get her on camera at the end of this clip, because yeah, like I said, this is Sunday. I'm picking my reads for Sunday and into Monday. So yeah, I thought it would be fun for like the 400 page challenge to read this one. Yeah, I can just like endlessly share these photos with you, but I highly recommend like checking these out from your library. That's where I was getting all of these previous to Barnes & Noble doing their sale. Oh, here she is. Hey, boss. Maybe I can turn the camera real quick. Oh, she hears there's some crows out the window here. Like, I'm finally able to open up my windows, because I don't know if I mentioned during my Friday Reads video, but there's been lots of smoke from wildfires that are far away, like, so they're not near me. I'm not risking like having to evacuate or anything like that, but the smoke has just like been pouring into like the valley here. Not an extreme amount, but enough to where I haven't been able to open my windows. And so this is the first day where I'm able to do that. And she's like, she loves it. It's like, you know, her TV, I always call it, because she's always perched at a window watching the world go by. So that's what she's hearing. So, okay, long digression there, but there's my first pick for Orange. Orange Doom Slug number 4. And then, okay, so then I wanted to live do my next pick here. So I'm just going to pick I've already shuffled it. I'm going to pick the very next card, and this is a Banana Doom Slug number 3. So for card 3, it's on your owned TBR. So a book I own. So it's acquired in the last 6 months for 1 point, over a year old for 3 points, and then over 5 years old for 5 points. I don't own any books over 3 years old because, as I mentioned before, I have accumulated and bought these bookcases since I've moved here. My previous places I was just reading on ebook, and if I had any physical books, it was maybe 5 at a time, and then I would read them, and you know, it was no point in me acquiring books. Basically, most of the time, if I had a physical book, I feel like it was like from the library. So yeah, so all these books are 3.5 years ish, or newer. So I'm gonna pick a book over a year old. So for the oldest August readathon that's hosted by Elizabeth over at Lizzie Faye Loves Books, it's all about picking books on your oldest lists, or your oldest like TBR shelves, or ebook, or Amazon list, whatever list or however you want to interpret for your specific situation. So I have already pulled. I have all of these. I know I've shown them before, but why not show them again since I'm going to be picking one of these books for my next read. So I have one middle grade book here, but I'm going to hold on to this because I feel like I've read a bunch of middle grade this last week, so I'm going to pick one of my nonfiction here. So the coffee table book on wildlife refuges, I'm going to put to the side because it's another book on animals. So then I have these. I have one on grizzly bears, America's Heartland, Seeds, Virginia Woolf essays and short stories, Willa Cather, and the Civil War to choose from. So let me think here. I'm going to read the photo arc, and then, so maybe get away from the animals. So let me think. I'm going to pick from one of these, from Willa Cather. Let me see what's in here. I think this one is a bind up of her short story collections. So let me look. Yeah, uncollected stories, and then you have several of her short story collections, and then a whole list of her reviews and like literary reviews. And so I just read Mark Twain's Life on the Mississippi. So that I'm very much inclined to read. Like for these kind of books, I had one other book. I had the Mark Twain actually, Library of America edition on my shelf, and so like on this TBR list. And so when I pick these books, I'm not expecting to read the entire thing. I just want to read like a book within these, or like the essay collection or something like that. And so I think I'm going to go with Willa Cather. Again, I know it's a boring cover. I don't have this. This didn't come with a cover, a dust jacket. I wonder if this was part of someone who got this, had it in like the sleeve. Because I know that if you get those, it doesn't have a dust jacket. But I didn't get the box that it would come in either. But is there anything I could show you here? Yeah, it's just like, you know, just there's no pictures or anything. So anyway, I think I'm going to go with her. Either I need to like think about it more. But either a short story collection in here, or her collection of literary reviews. I think I'm leaning towards the literary reviews because Mark Twain, as I mentioned, is in there. So yes, I'm going to read these. And because I don't, like for short stories or like essays, things like, or reviews, things like that, I don't sit down and read them all in one go. Unless it's like, it's just completely enrapturing me. Like I'm like sunk into it. That's the only time I would. So I don't think it's very unlikely that would happen. It's very, very, very rare for me to read something like that straight through. So I'm gonna pick another card. I wasn't planning on doing that, but yeah, again, doing these like live book picks. I think it's like so much fun. And I'm having just a blast doing this. So the next card is a 2. Yeah, I don't think I'm shuffling these, these good because I have a 4, a 3, and a 2. Because I just got this, I just opened this deck up on Friday, went up for my Friday reads video. So there was like a brand new deck of cards. So I need to do better here. So it's a 2, and that's a Doomslug Apple. Okay. So for 2, it's related to your last read. Same genre, same color, or same letter of author's last name. Okay, so if I want the 5 points, I don't think I'll have finished this book in time. So I'm going to go with Sartori here. S. So let me see, is there any on here that are S's really quick? And no. So let me, I'll turn the camera around so I'll actually take you along so we can pick the next book. Okay, so sorry if the camera is shaky, but I thought we would peruse some of my shelves. So this is my history shelf here, and I have this one, Secret Missions of the Civil War, Stern, first-hand accounts of men and women who risked their lives. Okay. And then I have a book by Kennedy, Theodore C. Sorensen. So I'm going to take these before they fall down. Put them on my table here. Okay, so then these are all my like non-fiction assortments. So these are alphabetized. So let me go to my S shelf. So we have Safina. Since I'm just going to be reading the picture book on animals, I'm going to stay away from that one. A Naturals in Northern Wilderness. That's what I choose from. Sacagawea. That's an option. The Days of My Years. Okay, some more animal books. Coyotes. Oh, he's gonna fall over. Okay, and then I have all my paper books and things like that. So okay, so let me grab these. And let me see. Putting those on my table. Okay, so then I have my fiction shelves, and so these are some fantasy and sci-fis or any. These aren't in any order, but I don't have anything there. And then I have some romance books. Oh, here's one. Once Upon a Puppy. I read another book. It was like a Christmas book that I really liked, so that's an option. And I see a saying, these two are S's. These are recommended to me by Amy at Zoe Beck when I went book shopping with her. And but I want to save those like vampire books and things like that for October. So I'm gonna save this one. And then I have fiction and westerns. Is there any? Oh, I have Maggie Now by Betty Smith. And I can't remember if I read this one because I read Betty Smith many years ago. I know I reread Trees and Groves in Brooklyn, and I reread another book by her. Is it listed in here? About a young couple getting married. That I'm like blanking on the name. I'm trying to do this one-handed. This tricky. Or is it? Maybe it shows it here on the back. No, I don't think so. But it wasn't this one. It wasn't. So this would be a reread for me. So I don't know if I would. But I will. I'll say this just in case. Because I would like to get some of my newer books. I have some sitting here. I haven't read this one. This is a collection of stories, so I don't want to read that. I've already read Crossing to Safety. I have Sullivan, but this is a bigger, chunkier book. I want to save it probably for the longer book challenges for the prompt for the card draw. Is there any other S's? No? Okay. And then I have the middle grade. So I'm going to skip those because, like I said, I've been reading quite a bit. Middle grade. Okay, so let me turn the camera back around so that I can pick one of these books. Okay, so I've accumulated my pile here. And then now that I'm looking at it, I have so many books that are S's. Well, you know, the last name of the author starts with an S. I'm going to put back the Betty Smith because I have read this before, but it's been at least probably 20 years since I read this. But because I have so many others that I haven't read, I'm going to put this aside, but I'm going back on my shelf to remind me to give it a reread at some point. So then I have lots of nonfiction and the romance book. Once Upon a Puppy. Yeah, and I said I have read the Christmas book. It was something like 12 days. Oh, here it is. Actually, it's right here. This is the book I read like a year or two ago. The 12 Dogs of Christmas. And it was very cute. This is, can one rambunctious dog bring together two complete opposites? And this is your typical kind of like rom-com. And then as for these other books, I have a big chunker of a Kennedy book, which would have fit for the I'm sure it's more than 500 pages. It could fit for, yeah, it's almost 800. So I'm going to set this one aside as well because it's a hefty book that I would want to save for the over 600 book challenge. So then now I'm down to 4. The Civil War book sounds interesting, but I feel like it would be kind of choppy because it's going to go probably, I'm assuming, like person by person or something like that. And because I am just going to be reading this the next couple of days with the essay collections, I'm going to save that one as well. Sorry if this is boring. I just thought it'd be fun to, like, you know, walk through my process of picking my next book. Like I said, I am the team TBR, and I do work off a TBR, but I don't pick every book that I'm going to be reading at the start of the month. I pick 10 to 15 to 20, something like that, and I typically read 30 to 50, something like that. Like 30 is, I feel like, an average. 30 to 35. So I pick like half of the books. So I'm kind of in between a TBR and a mood reader. But yeah, I always start like with these prompts. I've been starting with, you know, my actual TBR. So that's why we're having to like go through these because I didn't have any S authors. Okay, so this one is really calling my name because it's like Woman Naturalist in the Northern Wilderness. I love books where, you know, they're off in the you know, by themselves, and they're observing nature and also writing about, you know, their experiences of like you know, getting ready to do this and what it's like day to day, and like the tough things that they, you know, have to face and all the challenges. So this is really calling my name. But these others, this I've had on my shelf for quite a while. Sacagawea's Own Story. It says it's recorded by James Willard Schultz. But let me see what this is about. A child in the early 1800s, Earth Woman listens to nightly storytelling within the warm glow of the lodge of her father, chief of the Mandans. So here it is, Sacagawea's Own Story, passed down to us in the tradition of Native Americans' oral history through the writing of one of the early West's greatest storytellers. Okay, so that's making me want to read it more. Because I read last year Lewis and Clark's journals, you know, their travel across America, and I don't know. This is, I actually, surprisingly, I think I might want to go with this one. But you know, I'm like, which book do I pick in this last one here? The Days of My Years. What is this one? Oh, there's nothing on the back. There's nothing to go on here. Is there anything in the front? Nope. There's nothing there. What is this about? It looks like an old, like, mining town, or I don't know, or pioneering frontier or something. Yeah, a cattle country onto California, gold. Okay, yeah, it is like the whole like gold mining story, and you know, from wherever they're from. I just saw Fresno, California mentioned. I think the California, Sacramento Valley. So this I'm gonna put aside. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Sacagawea, Bird Woman, Sacagawea's Own Story. So there you go. So hopefully all these clips won't be like this, because this is just the start of the video. But okay, so just for a recap, I am going to be reading Photo Arc Wonders by Joel Sartor. Then I'm going to be starting Willa Cather's, again, very boring cover here, but her essay collection on her literary reviews of other authors. And then, yeah, like I said, I'm going to be finishing this one first, so starting with the S. I'm going to be reading Sacagawea. So there you go. That is my books for Sunday night into Monday. Okay, talk to you, maybe not Monday, because I think it's going to take me a bit, so probably Tuesday or Wednesday, but we'll never know. You'll see this quicker than I will. Because, yeah, the next book is going to be just a second away, and for me it's going to be 24, 48 hours. Happy Monday. So I know I just said that I probably wouldn't be checking in until Tuesday, but I managed to read all those books. So I needed to share the books I've read and then draw under the card to pick out the next book. So briefly, because I know I feel like I just mentioned these either my previous clip, or Friday Reads, something like that. I can't exactly remember, but I finished Photo Arc Wonders by Joel Sartori. This I read for the over 400 page prompt, and yeah, I know I talked about this, but there's little captions and tons of photos. The only ones I had to hurry past were the ones on tarantulas, because I can't look and study a creature that's as big as my hand on this. I feel like the spider is going to jump out at me. Like, that's how, good I feel like this photography is. Oh yeah, let's see. Well, speaking of tarantulas, like why not, this is not a tarantula, it's a crab. But on first glance, it looks like a tarantula. This is a decorator crab, where it says it gathers algae and invertebrates and its surrounding, and it puts it on its body as decoration. It's very interesting. And then this one is, oh, actually, never mind. Speaking of tarantulas, it's just like, it's another thing where it's like picking like debris up and putting it on its body. So let's just move on past that one. And here's some frogs. So there's that. So yeah, happy to have read this one. Okay, I read Bird Woman, Sacagawea's Own Story by James Willard Schultz. The one thing about this book I am questioning is how accurate it is. Like, is it really Sacagawea's own words? Because it's like passed down through the generations, and this book came out, I was like 1919, and yeah, 1918, and Sacagawea had died like practically 100 years before that, I want to say. So outside of that, I did really like this book. One thing I feel like is a misperception of Sacagawea is she wasn't so much a guide through Lewis and Clark's adventures to the Pacific Ocean, as much as she was like an interpreter. She helped because she knew several languages because of her upbringing that was like horrible, with her being her family being killed and her like taken this different tribe and then like married off and enslaved and things like that. It was just, or enslaved, I guess you would say, like with a different tribe. She's just being taken here, there, and everywhere. So she knows, several languages, and so that helps, Lewis and Clark's adventure through the wilderness and out west. But also because she's a woman with a child with the men's group, that helps them not be seen as like a warrior out for battle group if they were all men. So it's less threatening. So that helps smooth things out a bit. So happy to have read this one. I looked and I had like a sticker on the back I took off, but I got this book back in May of 2022. So yay for have read another book. Not as old as the oldest August books I had picked, but old enough. And then I read The Willa Cather. So I know I had mentioned I was going to read the book reviews on the literary criticism, but who knew that Willa Cather wrote poetry? I would have had paid attention to the subtitle here where it talks about stories, poems, and other writings. So I ended up reading her poetry, and that was called April Twilights and Other Poems. I'm curious to know if that was, I'm just going to stop holding this book up because there's nothing to see here at all. But I'm curious to know if when that was written compared to her other books, like if that was her attempt at poetry, like her beginning stages of writing, or if something she was just dabbling in. I don't know, because as far as I could tell, that was the only poetry collection in this whole bind up here. They were okay. They weren't the best. They weren't horrible either. More like middling of the road. But I feel like I'm not the person to review poetry. I've tried it off and on, and I've gotten some worth out of all the poetry I've read. But I feel like I don't know enough. I'm not knowledgeable enough to critique it. But happy to have read that one. So okay, now I'm gonna switch over to, we're gonna pick my next book to read. So I've already shuffled my deck of Doom Slug cards here. So let's see, because I want to prevent, the last time I was picking cards, it was like 2, 3, 4. So let's not do that. Okay, I got a Q for a cake, Doom Slug. And okay, so let's look at the prompts here. So for Q for Queen, it's, oh, this is easy. Okay, it's format, either an audiobook for 1 point, ebook for 3 points, or physical book 5 points. Okay, perfect. So I can just pick any book that I want to read. So off my, is it focusing there a little bit? I don't know. Hopefully it's focusing. I don't actually. If I tap my phone, I don't know how this stuff works. But yeah, you can take my word for it. Physical book is 5 points. So I'm gonna pick a book off my physical TBR for the month. And I feel like I've shown this like recently, but I can't remember for which video. So these are the books I have to choose from. So I'm gonna save the Sweet Valley books for a bit because I feel like I just read one recently. I'm gonna save the middle grade. I'm gonna save the Virginia Woolf because I just read the poetry that I was planning on reading. Actually, yeah, this is like me like live picking out a book. So I have The Civil War by Bruce Catton, and then I have these nature books and ones on seeds. I'm gonna save the seed one. I feel like that's gonna be one of my last books to read. I'm curious, but I don't know how readable it's gonna be. It's probably gonna prove me completely wrong and be perfect, but who knows? So I have Grizzlies and Far From Any Coasts. So I feel like I want to pick one of these. I wish y'all could just like put out a poll and y'all could just pick live for me. Let me just see here. So this one's under 200 pages, and it's about Missouri. Foxhounds across, it says, the belling of foxhounds across the winter hills of southwest Missouri, and men who waste 1,000 nights to hear it. Okay, the hollows of Kentucky, Minnesota Village. Okay, so it's gonna be a whole bunch of like the Midwest area. Okay, so then I have Civil War, Bruce Catton. You can't go wrong there. I've read all of his trilogies. He has 2 trilogies, but I have several other books by him that I haven't read. This one would be good, and it would take me longer than just a day to read. So, because it is, let's see here, almost 300 pages, and then I have the literary. This is a bind of multiple things: anthology of short stories, essays, fiction, and nonfiction. And I want to pick one collection in here to read. So I'm gonna save this because I just read it. So, I feel like I'm gonna go to the history. I need to mix things up because I feel like I haven't read enough nonfiction this month with all like the GarbAugust and things like that. So I want something more meaty, if you will. So I'm gonna go with The Civil War by Bruce Catton. Talk to you a little bit. It's now Friday, and I have quite a few updates to catch you up on because I've read a couple books and I've drawn some new books, and then I wanted to pick some books for the weekend. As it's Friday, I typically do a Friday read, so I'm just gonna put it all in this really long video, perhaps. Okay, so as for the books I have read since I last talked to you, I read Remembering Main Street by Pat Ross, an American album, and this follows 10 different small towns of different sizes all across America, and includes lots of pictures and interviews and biographies. So lots of like what it looked like back then versus now of the 1990s, because this came out in 94 or 95, so not up to current day, but close enough. And so a lot of them talk about like older elderly people in these towns, and I just feel like this book makes me want to sit down with a cup of coffee at a little local cafe in these little towns and just hear their stories, and see how the town has shifted and evolved and changed over the decades. But yeah, this was a nice read because I found this in a town close to Grass Valley, which was featured. Let's see here, featured in this book, and so I'm sure someone same thing, or was living in Grass Valley and had this book and then donated it. Okay, I read Katie's Babysitting Job by Martha Tolles, and I will say I can't remember what card I had drawn for these, but I have it written down somewhere. Speaking of that, I really need to log my points for my team for the Deck of TBR-a-thon. I haven't done that yet. I've only logged one book, and I don't even know what number of book I'm on now, like maybe 15 or so, so I have a bit of logging to do. Okay, anyway, that being said, for Katie's Babysitting Job, excuse me, this really reminded me of the Babysitters Club. This was written in the 80s, and so it's giving, I bet if I looked up books published in the 1980s for children, there's probably a whole slew of babysitting job books. But for this one, there is a little boy named Jamie, just like in the Babysitters Club. There's a dog featured. There's friends who are babysitters, and for Katie, she is new to the babysitting jobs, and on her very first night, she working as a babysitter, the mother's jewelry goes missing, and I will give lots of props to the the child's parents because they didn't criticize Katie or blamed her at all or thought she was lying when she said she didn't do it, things like that. And so for all of that, it was a nice enough story, but when I looked this up on Goodreads, it was book 3 in the series. There's not enough depth in this story to make me or compel me to want to read more about it, but it was nice enough. Let's see, and then I read Civil War by Bruce Catton. This is around 300 pages, and Bruce Catton, at least in my experience, I have read both of his trilogies, and in those, he is given so much room to elaborate and tell stories and make you feel like you're almost there, or I don't know, it gives him more room. Whereas this, it's just an overview, and that's all good and well, but I just feel like for his writing and you really want to read his trilogies over this. But this follows the entire Civil War era, from right before it started to the very end. And the one thing I really liked about this is there was tons of artwork and photography. Like almost on every single page, there was something to look at with a caption, and so I really appreciated that because I don't remember outside of maps there was anything in the trilogies that I've read. But yeah, I liked it just like not as much as his trilogies. Okay, so then as far oh actually hold on, I have 2 more books because I have it on my tablet here. Audiobooks. So I read, let's see, for number I drew a 10 because I was needed to listen to some audiobooks while I was working this week, but I was in the middle of the work day, so I couldn't like sit down and film at that time, but I did draw a card. I had enough time to do that. So for 10, that's for Goodreads, and that is high rating, low rating, or less than 1,000 ratings. And so for this one, I picked, I'm trying to see what was the other one. What was the other audiobook one? Okay. For this one, I chose, let's see, I'm getting them all mixed up here. Because I have 2 audiobooks. I'm trying to figure out which one went with what. Let me see. So for high rating, I went with, where is it at here? A Barry Lopez essay collection, Embrace Fearlessly the Burning World. And this is his most recent book before he died. He was a nature writer, and this book I'm currently listening to. I've only listened to 10 or 15 minutes or so of it because I got sidetracked with work, so I didn't get to read much more of it. But anyway, this is what I'm currently listening to. I can't tell you much outside of, like, he's a nature writer. This is an essay collection. So, but yeah, I'll fill you in next week on how that one goes, because I mainly listen to audiobooks when I'm working. I don't have a commute or anything. Sometimes I listen when I'm on a dog walk, but sometimes not. It just depends on where I am and what I'm doing. But okay, so then for Q, that was just the type, and so it was like audiobook, physical, or ebook, and so for that I went with an audiobook, and so I read The Best Man by Kristen Higgins, and this is part of the Blue Heron series. And for Kristen Higgins, it's been a bit, at least a year, if not more, that I've read anything from Kristen Higgins, and she is like a contemporary romance writer, and I remember really liking her writing and her stories. They're very cute and wholesome in a way, but for this one, I at least from my memory, I don't remember her writing being kind of crude in a way. Not her writing, but some of the jokes were just like off-putting in a way, and so I kept cringing throughout this book when it was supposed to be funny. So I don't know if it was just me or what, because I remember really liking Kristen Higgins. But this is following a main character who is coming back to her town after being jilted at the altar, and she runs into her ex-fiance's best man that was at the wedding, like the first day in town, because she gets pulled over and tries to talk her way out of getting a ticket, and just trying. I don't know. So like just the language, it just threw me off, and I couldn't get on with the story. Unfortunately, I need to read another book by her just to see if they were all like this. I just don't remember or what. Okay, so that's for audiobooks, and then for books I'm currently reading outside of the Barry Lopez audiobook, I am reading a variety of things. So I got a J for in the title. So I picked name in the title. And so that's the Virginia Woolf Reader. It's an anthology of essays, short stories, for fiction and nonfiction. So I am right now in the middle of reading an essay on how should one read a book. And so I had just read an essay on Jane Austen, and yeah, and so I am really, really liking her essay collection. I have tried and read a few of her books, her novels, but and I have read A Room of One's Own. That one I did like. But so maybe I like her essays more than her novels, because the stream of consciousness, it's not for me. I'm not, I don't know. Maybe this will make me want to pick up her books. But at least for right now, I am liking her nonfiction. So after this, her essay collection, it ends with her diaries and some of her letters. And so I might just read like, half of this book, because the other half is like short stories and things like that. So I just stick with the nonfiction, and yeah, so got that. And then I have K for, let me see, genre. Your favorite genre. Your favorite genre, where does it go? Host favorite genre, or really read genre. And so I went with the host favorite genre, because at least I know Chloe, I'd always booked, she reads quite a bit of middle grade. And so, and romance books as well. So Kristen Higgins probably would have fit the bill for that one too. But The Girl with the Silver Eyes by Willow Davis Roberts. This actually would have fit for the color prompt with silver in it. But this is giving me lots, it was reminding a lot of Matilda, because she can move objects with her eyes, like through like willpower. And so, like Toast is flying. And so, no one else can in this book, at least currently, from, because I'm only just a little bit into it. But, yeah, like it opened up with her, a neighbor being annoyed at her and like giving her like staring daggers at her while he is walking down like their like patio area. And so she moves a rock to like hit him in the shin. And for some reason, even though there's no magic at all in this world outside of her, and she's new to the area, he knows that she did it. He knows that she did it. But how? Like, how can you? I don't know. It's weird. How can you assume that? But he says, oh, it's her silver eyes. That's what's telling and off-putting, and so she is like an evil being or something. I don't know, but it's interesting. I'm curious to see how this plays out. And then I just started last night. I got 5 Cherry Doomslug. Yeah, you can see I should have done some catching up with you at least yesterday, but yeah, I don't know. Just time got away from me. So for 5, that is host read. Any book the host has read, rated 4 or 5 stars, or book from host July TBR. So this is a book the host has read, and Chloe had always booked, she read the tryout, Making the Squad Means Risking It All, and this is a graphic novel by Christina Soontorn-Vat and Joanna Cacao. I just picked this up last week, I think, from a little free library, and so yay for getting older books off my shelf, and some brand new ones, like reading them right away. I really like that, and so I picked this up because it's a graphic novel, a comic book, and those can be more pricey than normal fiction. Also, fiction, normal books can be expensive too. But when I see this at a little free library, I will almost always pick it up. And so this is about a girl who is new to school, and she's to a middle school, like a 7th and 8th grade middle school. And so I haven't get the part yet where she is going to be trying out for the cheerleaders. But right now she's talking about fitting in, because she is from Thailand, and has like a different last name. She's not from Thailand, her family is. But so everyone thinks she's from out of the country, and she's like, no, I was born here in America. And so like just trying to like fit in when she's standing out and being a little bit different. So maybe she's going to join the cheerleading team to be a part of this, more a part of the school. I don't know yet, but liking it so far. I'm only on page 28, and I think I'm just going to fly through it tonight. So yeah, for tonight, Friday night's reading, I'm going to be reading at least some of the Virginia Woolf, and then probably finishing both of these would be nice. It's now around 6:30 or so, and I ran my errands for the day, because tomorrow we're getting this like rare storm, which never happens here in Portland during the summer, like a rainstorm, because it hardly ever rains during the summer, much less thunderstorm and lightning. So we're getting like it's possibly severe, like hail, lightning, and thunder. So I wanted to get all the stuff I needed to get done today because before tomorrow comes. So yeah, I did all of that, and so now I'm back home and ready to read after I finish filming this video. So I was like, why not go ahead and pick at least 2 cards for Saturday and Sunday, and check in throughout the weekend. However, my reading takes me. So I'm gonna shuffle these cards because just looking at these, again, like pointing out my really bad shuffling skills. We have like K through 10, and then we have a 5. These are out of order, but still, not doing the best here with the shuffling. I'm no card person at all. Okay, so let me see here. Okay, so this one is going to be a 4 orange. And 4, if I remember, is like the longer books. Yeah, long books. Over 400, 500, or 600 pages. My goodness. So, that book might be my Saturday and Sunday read. But looking at my current TBR, there's nothing too long here. I don't think there's anything over these 2 maybe, or I don't think this one's over 400. 260s, and then this one is 343. So those wouldn't work. So I might have to pause it a second and then peruse my shelf to see what fits the bill. Like 1 second. Okay, so I decided to go with Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. If you're with me last year, you'll know I've tried this book multiple times and I didn't get through it. It was like it's a little bit dusty. It was on the top shelf near the ceiling. Maybe I need to dust that shelf more often. But I didn't get on with the humor of it. It was throwing me off. So it's kind of like a snarky, I remember right, it's kind of like a snarky humor that it's like talking directly to you, the reader, while the story was going on. So that kept taking me out. The narrator, not as much the humor too, but the narrator, that's what it is. It kept throwing me off. But it's a very pretty book, and so I'm gonna I think it's these Doomslug cards, the Brandon Sanderson cards. Maybe that's what drew me right to that shelf. But it's well over 400 pages. It's 477. So this is what I'm going to be picking. So I'll pick one more just in case I manage to get through all of these books. Let me shuffle it again. So, because I know I have a 5 and a 4. So I'm just not going to pay attention, I guess, to that. Okay, I got a 9. Now, Pancake Doom Slug. Okay, so for 9, let me see here. And there's hair. I'm like sitting on the floor, so every time I pick up my phone here, it's like getting hair with it. I also need to vacuum along with dusting. Okay, so on the cover, object on the cover, person or building. And so the building gets the most points. So let me flip it around so I can show you, because I don't think I showed you for the other ones, but hopefully you can see that. Okay, so object, person, or building. So I'm going to go directly to my TBR here. So I have a coffee table book. I'm going to leave that one, but these are the remaining books for GarbAugust and Oldest August. So let me see. So here's some people on the cover, but this is one of the longer saga books. So like generational saga books. I'm gonna hold off on that one. I have Seas, which is object. Okay, is there a building here? Yeah, there is. Okay, so that one will work for a person and a building. There's a house in the background and like a nuclear power plant. This is one of the oldest books on my shelf because it's featuring a nuclear power plant, and so but I really like Karen Hess's writing. She wrote Out of the Dust, so I mean that's a contender. Okay, I'll put that one aside. I have some for GarbAugust. I have some people on the cover for Sweet Valley University and Sweet Valley Twins Super Chiller. Let's see. And then these don't have people or buildings, so those won't fit. Okay, so I'm gonna pick Karen Hess. I'm gonna go with that one. That would be like a quick read after reading Trust, the over 400 page book, and that way I can finally read this because I read almost all of Karen Hess's writing, and except this one and I think one other. So yeah, that will make me feel good to get one done. Okay, so let me put these books back. Okay, so yeah, I will touch base with you once I read something. I swear, I'm not gonna let it go days and days before checking in. Okay, talk to you soon. Hello again. I'm here to wrap up the vlog of sorts, reading vlog for the week. It is now Sunday afternoon, and I just want to provide some updates on what I've been reading. So I did finish the Virginia Woolf Reader. As I mentioned before, I didn't read the first a third or so, half. That was all of her short stories and A Room of One's Own, which I've already read before. I could have reread it, but I didn't. So, but I focused on her literary essays, her diaries, and letters collections. And I've read like I mentioned before, I've read a couple of Virginia Woolf's books, but never got on with them. I read Room of One's Own, which I really liked, and that was it. I'm pretty sure I might have dabbled. I feel like I've dabbled in her diary or letters before, because some of these sounded familiar, or at least I've read up on her biography, something like it, not a book, but read up on her. And so like reading her diaries and letters in this, it's just always depressing to me, because I know by now she would have been dead either way, but just the whole idea of like her committing suicide and like how much potential she had, how many more books we could have got out of her, kind of thing. It's just, but luckily we at least have some books for any of these authors, that kind of thing. But yeah, that part was depressing, but happy to have read this, as this was one of the oldest books on my shelf. Yes, for oldest August. Okay, one of the newer books from just last week, the tryout, Making the Squad Means Risking It All by Christina Suntornvat and Joanna Cacao. This is like a memoir from Christina of her time. She lived in, I want to say, Dallas, Texas, and then moved to a small town and felt very much out of place. So she decides to become a cheerleader to be part of the group and not stand out so much. And it takes place in there. I don't want to give the story away, but I found it very impactful, and it didn't end as you would think. And I very much appreciated the very back had the author's notes on how her story ended with that, and how things have changed since then. Well, I guess I'll go ahead and spoil it. She didn't make the squad because there is a round in there where you're basically judged on popularity, and because of that, she didn't make the squad. But since that time, she she talks about in the back here how the school has changed the rules, and so makes it more fair. But here is the author as an adult. She's now living in Austin, Texas, and I like how in the back, this is like full of like illustrations, but then it also has pictures in the very back of when she herself was a little girl at the time of when this is when she moved from Dallas, and then it like what she looked like during this book. And so her family owned a restaurant. They moved there because they wanted to have like a unique restaurant in that area. And so her family isn't Chinese, but they open a Chinese restaurant because they think it's like a popular gateway for Americans to enjoy like a more international food. And so I really liked the story, and happy to have read it. And then I read The Girl with Silver Eyes by Willow Davis Roberts. I mentioned that this was reminding me of Matilda because she can float objects, and it's like the toast and stuff, and this actually does happen in the book. And I thought Matilda had came first, but no, this book was written first. This book was written in, was it 1980? 1980. Matilda, I looked it up, came out, and I looked it up yesterday, but I'm pretty sure it was 1988. So I wonder if this book inspired Matilda, or maybe Carrie, because I know that those the famous ones where they're moving telekinesis, where they're moving objects. But this one very much reminds me of Matilda because when she's angry, the main character is angry, and that's what makes her like act out and be brave to move these objects because she's risking being caught. And also she's very precocious, where she has taught herself how to read at age 3, and she's just obsessed with reading books. She spends a lot of time reading because she's alone. She doesn't have any friends at the opening of this book because she's always the outcast and always made fun of because of her silver eyes. And so with the reading really young and moving objects and being mad, it's all like really reminding me of Matilda. And I wonder if being mad is that because I've read Carrie, Matilda, and this one. Is that there's like a theme there with telekinesis, which is interesting to think about. But yeah, so this follows her journey of she's moving to a new neighborhood, so she's making friends with the people in the apartment she's in, along with the kids in the neighborhood, and she's actually making some friends. But there's this whole investigation going on because the one tenant hates her and is suspicious of her from day one. People start asking questions, and so she's terrified that her powers are going to be revealed, and it goes on from there. I will say the ending left a lot to be, not a lot, but somewhat to be desired, because she has a group of friends, and you can tell that the story it could be a whole other book. This could have easily had a sequel or been 100 pages longer to explore, like, now that she's more confident in her powers and she's growing in that, you know, what would have happened. But for what it was good enough. Okay, so then I know I talked about reading Trust by Brandon Sanderson and how I had tried to read it last year and I didn't. And so I sat down to read it. I read the first page and I was like, meh. I need some other motivation here to pick that book up. So that was for the book over 400 pages. So what I did instead is I was already in the middle of this book, but I had like placed it on the back burner because I just wasn't in the mood for it when I picked it up back in June, I want to say. This is Greg Iles' A Southern Man. This is, I think, book 7 in the Pen Cage series, and it's kind of awkward to hold it because it's like wide. This Kindle Ace is kind of wide, but yeah. So I put it down in June because I was feeling very much stressed at work, and this is like a longer, like medical. It has medical stuff in there, but it's like political thriller, with medical stuff going on in the background. That was kind of like depressing, and so I couldn't read it at the time. I mean, it has like, you know, very serious topics with the political things and gun violence and all sorts of things, riots and all of that, and so, you know, mass shootings. So I was like, all right, it was too heavy for me back in June. So I got about, I think, 200 pages in, and let me see how many pages total is in this book. 'Cause I know it's a chunky book. Like Greg Iles, he does not write any. There is no slender books in his catalog. Let me scroll all the way down. Let's see. Okay, it's over 800 pages. It is, oh my goodness. Okay, go all the way down. Okay, so the acknowledgements start at a page 1228. So yeah, I'm gonna be reading this for quite a while. I'm on page 300 something. So even with reading 300 pages, I still have 900 pages to go. So this for sure will get me the 5 points for reading a book over 600 pages, I believe was for that one. So yeah, switching to this one, I'm going to finish this one up because I almost never have a book that I pick up and want to continue reading and I, you know, have it lingering. If I pick a book and I don't like it, I put it down. It's just DNF. Like, I don't let it sit there hardly ever. But this one I knew I wanted to read. It just wasn't the right moment. So yes, this is set in Mississippi, and I've read all the previous books in the Pen Cage series. The author said for this one, it can be read as a standalone, and from what I'm seeing here, it can, because you're flashing forward a bit in time, and so and you're meeting a lot of new characters, and so it's not like you have to know all of them, you know, going into this one. Okay. So then I did start Phoenix Rising by Karen Hess. I didn't get too far into it. I'm on page 20, and what is the character? Nile, and it's a girl. She is living near where she's near Cookshire, the Cookshire nuclear plant accident, and so they're wearing radiation masks and you know, constantly monitoring the levels in their house and outside their house, and she's very much afraid and just mad. She's really mad at the situation, and she's, how did she say? She's around like 10 or 12, something like that. And now her family is having to take in some boarders, people who got radiation poison, have nowhere to go, their house and everything is just left in like that evacuation zone. And so I haven't made it too far in, but it is a grim story. And so that's kind of, this is one of the oldest books on my shelf as well. And so the whole nuclear power plant and that devastation is probably why I haven't picked it up in all this time. Okay, and then I did draw a card yesterday when I wasn't necessarily in the mood to film anything. But I drew a card 3, a banana doom slug, and this is for it was like something like read a book within 6 months of acquiring it, a year, or 5 years, I think was the prompt. It's like a length of, you know, you acquiring the book, and so this is a book I acquired within a year. 1 Dozen and One short stories by Gladys Tabor. I have this is the author here. I've only read her nonfiction, and I'm still waiting to see if there is going to be any nonfiction essays in here. I've only read the first story called, let me see, Matchmaker, I want to say it was called. Yeah, Matchmakers. And then now I'm on Impetuous Wedding. So far they're fiction short stories, and I have a cat bookmark. I found this randomly in a book I had picked up at a bookstore, but the cat is fitting for Gladys Taylor because in her nonfiction Still Meadow books, there's a cat called Amber. And so I have a feeling, you know, Gladys Taylor has an affinity for cats. And in the first short story I read, there was 3 cats that was like the main focus of, and she was, you know, taking care of them. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. I randomly wanted to pick up a book yesterday because I wanted something that will carry me through next week and just like slowly chip away at it. I wanted it small enough so that I could get it done before I leave for my work trip next Monday on the 26th. So I wanted to, you know, make sure I could get this read. So there we go. That's all of my updates. And so I thought I had a pie. I pulled all the books I've read this week and talked about. I won't include these 2 because I haven't finished them yet. But these are all of the physical books that I have read this week. Oh. And not including I read 1 or 2 audiobooks, but there's the stack. It's a little bit deceiving because the Willa Cather here, I only read the poetry collection. But still, I think it's impressive enough. So there you go. And I was like thinking about it. These first 2 weeks in August, I have almost solely focused on picking books off my shelf. And I really never do that because I'm always trying to read 1 physical book and then 1 ebook. But this has been, I had to like go hunting around to find this on my Kindle because I'm like, where did I put it? Because I knew I was going on this like long work trip at the end of the month. And so I wanted to focus on the physical books. And it's really interesting to think about because I don't have all of the genres or a wide variety of the books that I tend to read because, for example, like mysteries and thrillers, I have the Gothic collection, but that might be it. I don't think I have any mystery or thriller books that I haven't read. So it's interesting to think about, like what I can pull from here versus the thing is like, 'cause with this, I read everything from my library app, the Libby app. And so I can pull any book that's on ebook practically on here. Whereas this, I'm limited to what I purchase. So yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's interesting to think about how my reading month has gone compared to how it would have been, you know, with ebooks. And so now I'm going to be incorporating an ebook. This one, the Greg Isles one, is going to be with me for quite a while. I think at least 2 or 3 more days because it's going to be my primary focus. But anyway, that's enough rambling for today. Sorry that this vlog of sorts is so long, but yeah, I just thought it'd be fun to take you along on my reading journey, and I'm going to do it again next week and until my work trip, because with the work trip I have no idea how I'm going to film, if I'm going to film anything. I think it would be good for me to get outside of my anxiety bubble with the travel. Like, it's going to be a long day of travel to get over to the East Coast and then work and all of that. But it would be nice to take a break from all that, to like take a breath and, you know, film like a minute or 2 a day. Something like that would be fun. But yeah, let me know if you would enjoy that. You probably would, you know, different setting and everything. But anyway, I will talk to you soon. Thanks, BookTube.